Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Disruption. And I am not your host. My name is Joshua, and I'm your host for today. I hope you're having a great day, which is about to get even better because you're listening to the Disruption Podcast, EP9. If you're new here, this is the Disruption Podcast where we discuss how artificial intelligence is transforming job roles today, how careers are changing and being actively influenced by artificial intelligence in general. We bring on experts, people of relevance in the industry for opinions and predictions on the future of these careers. Be sure to hit that notification bell, click that follow button to be notified when we drop a new episode, and catch us on X, Twitter at disruption_AI for updates. All right, getting into our topic for today, we have psychology and AI, the future of mental health and relationship. I mean, this is an extensive topic. It has depth. Unfailingly, we've brought another brilliant mind for you guys today to listen to and to learn from and to gain, a bit from their wealth of experience. Yes, trust we brought another brilliant guest enlightening us from a central bank of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Chioma Agu, she holds a master's degree in clinical psychology with an extensive portfolio in independent mental health therapy. Today's guest is someone who spends her days untangling the complex web of the human mind. Ms. Chioma Agu is a clinical psychologist with over 5 years of experience in clinical diagnosis, assessment, research, and psychotherapeutic interventions. She works with a wide toolkit, everything from dialectical behavioral therapy and rational emotive behavioral therapy. That's a mouthful. To trauma-focused therapy, play therapy, grief therapy, family family therapy. Basically. If it ends with therapy, she probably does it. In summary, if it's about understanding and healing the mind, Mrs. Chioma Agu has it covered. She has also founded her own mental health care institution, My Eden, for women, dealing with women mental health, postpartum women, and handling the stress and everything. Brilliant initiative that she has running currently. So, Ms. Chioma, over to you. Could you say hi to our audience and just introduce yourself?
All right. So my name is Chioma Juliet, clinical psychologist. I am overwhelmed by how you've described me, right? And I'm glad to be in this meeting. I love to talk about mental health because it's the core of what I do. And I every time I see someone dealing with a mental health condition, being a clinical psychologist didn't come from a place of, oh, let me just get in there and have a profession. It came from a place of passion. So whenever it's something related to mental health, I'm always very, very interested, right? Yeah. I believe today's session will be informative, and let's dig in.
That is, ladies and gentlemen, that is Mrs. Chioma Agu, clinical psychologist with a very, very, very brilliant mind, a very, very extensive portfolio. And I can't wait to get into what we have today. So, psychology, I take some psychology courses in school. So, what would you describe psychology as, today, right now in 2025?
Okay. So I would describe psychology as something that is still evolving, right? However, it's much better than it was when I started. When I applied for psychology in school, it wasn't something that was very familiar. In fact, when you tell some people that, oh, I'm studying psychology, they're like, what's that? And sometimes they confuse it with philosophy. And I've had people tell me, what do you mean you're studying psychology? What are you going to do with it when you eventually start working? Right? So it wasn't something that people saw prospect in, but right now I can describe it as something that has really, really evolved, right? Initially, several years ago, it was like a taboo to talk about mental health. People who are dealing with mental health condition either hide or they even seek for solutions in places like spiritual homes and the rest of them. And then the stigma, the thought process that mental health conditions are sponsored by demons and all of that. But what I want to say now, I've heard a lot of that. Coming from Africa, Nigeria, where almost everything is spiritualized. So I can say that psychology, especially clinical psychology, has really, really evolved, and I'm glad about it. From the Mental Health Act being reviewed to people now owning up, coming out to say, I know I'm not feeling fine, I know I'm not doing well, and I need help, right? So it's not like those days where it has to be physiological sickness or somebody has to be experiencing something physically before they can say that, okay. So right now, I'm glad about it that a lot of people now have knowledge about mental health conditions. They can seek for help, they can reach out and even open up. And then the society is also evolving around mental health, and I see a lot of stigmatization depreciating or decreasing rather. I would say that psychology has truly evolved. You see a lot of people now coming and saying, oh, I want to be a psychologist. Yeah, when I started, it wasn't like that. I didn't quite hear a lot of people saying, I want to be a psychologist, I want to be a clinical psychologist. In fact, most people didn't know there was something like that. So yeah, it has really, really
That's beautiful work. Like, I mean, even way back when it wasn't very common, you still went on with it. Was that your choice to do psychology? Was that your choice? Was that a choice you deliberately made?
Yeah, well, I would say that yes. Although when I went into psychology, I didn't really know what it truly entailed, but I knew that I wanted to do something that would help me to reach out to people, to help people. Initially, I saw it as an avenue where I can counsel people, right? Because when I was in secondary school, I had this classmate of mine that was very intelligent. We were all good, but one thing he didn't like was competition. So when we wrote our WAEC, I'd left that school, I'd gone back to a particular state. When we wrote our senior WAEC, I think he failed mathematics or English or one, but he was very intelligent, someone that could have 99% in mathematics, so he was very intelligent. So when he failed mathematics in WAEC, he took his life. He took his life. He committed suicide, so to say. But before that, he used to tell us that he heard voices of telling him to kill himself, and then we would just laugh it off. We'll be like, come again with all this your shenanigans. What do you mean? And it was fun. It was we were helping him with it, but we never knew he was dealing with depression, right? Until he died. And then when he failed and he was making comments about taking his life, even the family members were laughing. We were like, you know, they were some even, poking him about all your intelligence, you couldn't pass mathematics. So that kind of it affected me in a way that made me say, oh, and I wasn't there. I left the school, I'd left the state, and I was like, I know if I was there and I could go talk to him and advise him, he wouldn't have done that. That was what made me want to be able to, show that someone, to understand. And also some level of counseling, someone who is thinking of ending it all. So that was like a motivating factor, but I didn't really know the exact thing that psychology entailed. But yeah,
So
I'm
I
glad
mean, with
I took it up.
this your little story you shared with us, it's fair to say you're a natural born psychologist, someone that was naturally born to delve into the mental mind of human beings. I mean, and understand, try and transform, try and give people a sense of hope, try and show them light. Is that fair to say?
I wouldn't say born, right? I wouldn't say born. I would just say it's something that came out of, would I say, a place of pain, if it's fair to say that, right? Yeah, I wouldn't say I was born so, but I just developed interest, right? I felt like I want to be able to. It felt like if this person had someone they could talk to, yeah, that my friend. If he had someone he could talk to, if he had someone he could confide in, I believed that he wouldn't have, gone through with that. So I felt like I want to be that person that
Yes.
someone can talk
Yes.
to, right? So that was
All
my
right. That's
motivation.
that's
Yeah.
that's a good one. So, Miss Shoma, there's a question here. Looking into the future of psychology from where we are right now, like what directions in psychology are you most excited about, and which ones give you a little worry? The landscape of everything right now, psychology and the influence of artificial intelligence, technology, digitalization of the world, and everything else. What
Mm.
innovations in psychology are you most excited about? Oh, because it's going to help a lot of people, it's going to change the game, it's going to do etc. and etc. Also, which developments do you think might happen that like are not very good for the profession? Which ones give you a little worry?
Okay. So the ones that I'm happy about, that I'm glad about, is teletherapy, right? The fact that people can sit in the comfort of their home and get help. So someone doesn't have to leave their house, they don't have to queue up in the hospital, they don't have to go through all that stress of getting help. It's affordable, it's readily available, and then if someone is in their need, the person can just pick up their device and get help.
Yes.
It wasn't like that before. Before, you have to get to a clinic, see a psychologist in person and all of that. But now it has changed, and it's made it easy for people to open up, right? Because sometimes they're not even seeing the person they are talking to. So there is this
Yes.
level of confidence they have that after all, if you see me tomorrow, me well, right? So I'm really happy about teletherapy. Even though it's evolving, it's not as perfect. I wouldn't say perfect, right? It's not as, I wouldn't rate it as physical sessions, right? Because in physical sessions, you get to observe physical
Yes.
presentations and all of that. But it's evolving, and it has quite helped, and I'm very happy about it. However, what I am afraid about is the fact that AI is diving deeper, right? In like AI, some people building AI tools that will try to provide. I know I haven't seen that now, but I know that some would I say AI organizations are trying to work towards that, where AI can give some level of, which I'm really very scared of, right? Because no matter how you look at this thing, AI is still AI. It cannot replace human. A human has empathy, right? AI is a machine. When you're providing intervention, at some point you may have to switch to another intervention modality, and you would have to tailor intervention down to the client's needs. And in sessions, sometimes clients' needs can change, right? So AI have those adaptability skills, doesn't have that human connection. When you're speaking to a human being can feel. So that sense that you have, that this person can feel, can actually truly understand, can relate. It's not the same with AI. So I'm really very scared about AI trying to replace human beings, because I sure that AI cannot and
Yes.
will never be a human being. So
Oh, that's a beautiful
yeah.
response to the questions. So, Mrs. Shoma, looking at it, you mentioned how artificial intelligence does not yet have the empathy. It is not able to adapt to client needs
Mm,
as a human therapist would. But
mm,
at the rate at which technology is advancing,
mm,
like technology has advanced more in the last let's say 20 years than it has in the last 100 years. So a lot is changing, and a lot is changing faster than ever. So I don't
mm,
think it's inevitable. Technology like artificial intelligence might in the nearest future be
mm,
able to overcome some of these things that you've mentioned that they are limited by now. So if they do eventually like overcome it, I mean, before we didn't nobody knew robots could walk or run. Now robots can walk. They have made robots that work in factories. Nobody knew robots could talk. Nobody robots could formulate a song or write a poem or give you a whole dissertation in less than
mm.
2 minutes. So let's say over like as we go on, artificial intelligence
Yeah.
gets to this level where it is able to some extent replicate human empathy, to some extent be able to navigate client needs and all of that. Are you still going to be opposed to artificial intelligence in psychology, in mental health cases specifically? Are you still going to be opposed to it, or you can? All right, it's not that bad. It's not that bad again.
Hmm. I do believe that, artificial intelligence is not bad. I haven't said it's bad, but what I'm just saying is that there is there is a limit to it. There is an extent to which, for some professions that just involves precision, like when you're doing surgery, there is already a procedure that someone has to follow. Cut this, do that, give this, give that. You already know that there is a protocol, so to say. But when you're providing intervention to a human being, there are human levels to it, which a machine cannot and would never be able to do. Right? Imagine providing intervention or having a psychotherapy session, and then a client starts crying, a client becomes aggressive, right? Sometimes it's not you read in books that can help. It's not codes that has been typed in that can help, right? It requires thinking as a human being. I believe that artificial intelligence, to an extent, has been told what to do. It does not have an independent mind of its own, right? Yes, so it's what you put in that you get. So in a case where something that was not put in there arises, what do you do?
Yes.
Right? So that is that's where you know that in all you do regarding this, a human being is still a human being. So when issues arise that we are not preloaded in the artificial intelligence, you know that if it's a human being, they can think outside the box, they can know what to do. But if it's a machine, it's not there, it doesn't know. Right? So artificial intelligence can or may provide primary mental health care, right? But with referral, when it becomes, there should be limitations to what artificial intelligence is allowed to do, right? Because, this clinical psychology thing, providing intervention to a full human being is very delicate. It's not something to be, especially when you're working. Imagine working with someone who has a very high level of suicidal ideation, or someone who has already even attempted suicide severally, and you're allowing an
there's a section of the part of the question
what
that's
if
going
there is
to
escalation?
that is becoming more rampant, like recently. People, teenagers most especially, yes.
Because
It's when they communicate with generative AI chatbots on suicidal attempts and all of that, and then most like if they eventually go on with it, and then later on the parents check and they say that this boy has been talking to a ChatGPT about it.
Exactly. ChatGPT is not human, right? It's not human. It might suggest what to do, but it doesn't know how to de-escalate that kind of situation. So you can never replace the place of human. I don't believe that. No matter the level of, the level of innovation, I do not believe that an artificial intelligence can entirely take the role a human should be doing.
Thank you very much. What do you think are the biggest struggles, like psychology-wise, that faces people today that cuts across cultures, borders, that cross across the world? I mean, indigenous cultures, like in Nigeria now. Let's say somewhere in Kaduna, somewhere in Kogi State, or somewhere in Akwa Ibom. Like, what psychological struggles do you think people in these places face? So not just in our own immediate environments, like maybe rural people in India, people in Pakistan. What psychological struggles do you think are common amongst these people?
Well, I can't say per se because I haven't done a research, but I can give an insight to it. Something like anxiety, right? And something like anxiety and depression is somehow getting more. I don't want to say rampant, right? And I think that it is somehow sponsored by the fact that social media has taken away, or to an extent has affected, the social environment. When I was growing up, right, you can just be somebody will walk into your house, or you see groups. I mean, those times that all these groups were formed, like, when you go to school, you see student association, this one, that all those things were for socialization, right? But in this dispensation, it looks as if socialization has decreased between humans.
Yes.
Right? It's now some kind of superficial, the socialization that you see in social media, which aren't real. Those days it was real. You could see real struggles,
Very
you
true.
could see everything real, right? But when you come to social media, it's all artificial, look perfect, they paint perfect picture. And then some people, because of being
Yes.
developed anxiety, they feel like they are not doing enough. Right? Those days you can freely get a hug. Once in a while you get a hug, you stay with people, you talk. But now people are on their phones. Even sometimes when people come to your
Yes.
house, they are on their phone. And the time that you spend with them might be just 30, 40 minutes, and they stayed with you for 3 hours. So these things have, because humans are
Yes.
created to be social beings. And this socialization that is now declining among humans is affecting people mentally. Is affecting. So I feel that something like anxiety, depression, and then also that socialization. That's why in Western world you see more depression. There is still some
Yes.
level of
Yes.
socialization decline. It's making people to be isolated, making people to have expectations
Yes.
that are
I would like to add that social alienation is one major global mental health issue. In fact, it's a global mental health crisis. The fact that a lot of things that humans can do has been taken over by AI, not just artificial intelligence and some other technologies. The fact that people no longer interact with each other physically. We no longer see the warmth, the empathy, smiling face, and that physical interaction between human beings is grossly contributing to social alienation. And it's a global crisis. The fact that people do not get to interact. Several years ago, we had a lot of socialization going on. You go out, you go to the market, you see people, you go to several places, you just see people, you just see humans. I mean, there's this fact that we humans are social creatures. We are created to socialize, we are created to survive with socialization inclusive. So when that socialization is taken away, it gives birth to very, very gross consequences, which we can now see as social alienation. Also, the fact that I is diving deeper into human emotions, trying to mimic human emotions and mimic human functioning is very, very troubling. Human beings are known to perform higher executive functioning. Now, if the role of a human is replaced by a machine, it will get to the point where we start having identity crisis and people begin to wonder, what value do I bring? Of what use am I? It's happening gradually in some organizations where AI has taken on the role that a human being was doing and they are laid off. The person begins to wonder, if AI can do what I can do as a human being, does that make me less of a human being? Does that make me less? Does that equate me with a machine? And now, higher executive functioning, which includes critical thinking, thinking out of the box, and several other things that humans do. If this is replaced by machine, it's going to be detrimental. Because if the thinking that you're supposed to do as a human being is being done by a machine, then to an extent, you're at the mercy of that machine. It gets to a point where there will be decline, drastic decline in human executive functioning, because you have to continuously make use of your brain, so to say, for it to remain active or effective. If someone has a stroke and they haven't been using their hand or their leg for a very long time, by the time they want to start using it again, they have to retrain the brain. So if there is drastic decline in thinking, in performing higher executive functioning, and relegating it to a machine, I do believe that a time will come when I don't think that it will come naturally again to do it when you haven't been doing it before. So I'm very concerned about AI taking on the responsibility of a human being. I'm very concerned about AI diving deeper into higher executive functioning. I'm very, very concerned about that, because if you can no longer perform higher executive functioning, or if the higher executive functioning you're performing can be performed by a machine, I do believe that a time will come when you begin to ask yourself, why am I a human? Why am I different from a machine? I am sure that would give birth to very, very dangerous mental health conditions as well. So yeah, I don't buy the idea that I should replace the role of a human being, especially as it relates to psychology. There should be limits to what an AI should do, because at the end of the day, this is what makes us human. It should differentiate us from a machine.
Thank you very much for that addition, Mrs. Chioma. Some people say therapy apps like make mental health more accessible. Others think they lower the quality of mental health services. Like, where do you stand? Are you part of the Gen Z audience that believes these mental health apps make mental health services more accessible and is making everybody healthier, giving everybody first class access to mental services that maybe people that cannot afford therapists or go to that's while some people say it is indeed lowering the quality of mental health. Where do you stand?
Okay, so I'm not going to stand on any particular place, but I'm going to say that, right, there are benefits,
so
there are disadvantages, right? Yes, there are disadvantages. The benefit is that it makes it accessible. You don't have to, if you don't have transportation, you can just have data and access therapy, right? If you're not able to commute to the therapist's office, you don't have to see the person. So it takes away that it brings that comfortability. The fact that one therapist, if it was previously, if you're a therapist and you're living in Lagos, of course, you know that you would have to attend to people who are in Lagos, or even people who are closer to you, because Lagos is big, right? So you can't be in Ikorodu and you expect that, you'll be getting sessions from people who are in something as far as, where do I even give you, Lekki?
Yes.
Right? But with innovation, technology, if you're in Ikorodu, someone can just, book you and you have a session, even though the distance is quite far. So when it comes to accessibility, I think that it's very good. Right. But when it comes to things like holistic intervention, because sometimes you have to see physical presentations, right? Which you might not be able to, you can sense that in audio. Yeah, so it's different when the person walks in and you can literally see the person and the person can see you, and you can take in cues from behaviors, observations, and the person might miss out on some of the things that they should hear, right? So I think it's in between. The fact that with the apps is accessible, it's affordable, but also the fact that it might not entirely give holistic intervention, like when the person is presenting in front of you.
Yes, Thank you very much for that response. I think that pretty much sums up and brings it to a middleman conclusion. So, Mrs. Chioma, do you think AI could ever replace human empathy in therapy? Or is there always something irreplaceable about the human touch?
Well,
sorry, let me expatiate on that. I mean, before now, there have been many statements, many blogs and articles saying artificial intelligence cannot do this. It is limited. Technology is limited to this. And over the time, I mean, people like Elon Musk have come up and continue to break this school of thought. So, I mean, as of 2025 right now, a lot of people are saying artificial intelligence is not empathetic. We want to know firsthand from you if truly is there a slight chance artificial intelligence might possess human empathy in the nearest future?
Honestly, from my perspective, I would say no, actually, because even if, like I mentioned earlier about what artificial
Yes.
intelligence has to do
Yes.
being preloaded, right? In as much as there is a lot of
Yes.
innovation going on, it's not an independent thing. It's not an
Yes.
independent thinker, right? So I do not think feelings that are meant for a human being can ever be replaced by a machine, because I mean, it's just like saying a car should do the job of a gas cooker, right? So no matter how you innovate a gas cooker is a gas cooker. A human being is a human being for a reason. A machine is a machine. So I do not ever think that an AI can ever have the exact
Yes. Yes. That's the
it
word.
can mimic it. And even when it mimics it to maybe
Yes.
let's say 80%, the person that there's this perception when you're talking to a human being, there's this
Yes.
perception you have. Perceptions are very
Yes.
important, right? It's just like if I'm feeling bad and my mom comes and my mom is telling me, don't worry, everything will be fine. And then somebody else that I don't know is telling me that don't worry, everything will be fine. If I was crying, if my mom tells me that, I might stop crying, right? Because I know that she loves me, she cares about me, and is coming from a place of
Yes.
genuinity. But when it's another person, there is conflict. You're thinking, does this person really care? So when it's a human being, you know that this is your fellow human being. You know that there is likely that they can be feeling or they can relate to what you're feeling. But when it's a machine,
I
there's
agree with
still
you.
that point in
But
perception
nowadays
where they are like,
we have people
do you
that
really know what I'm going on?
that call ChatGPT their best friends. Like for you to go on speaking to an artificial intelligence software and advance it to the level where you're calling it your best friend, it means they have some sort of relationship, or they think they have a relationship with the software that they've built over conversations, hours long. There's a statistic that shows that conversations on ChatGPT have spanned as long as 8 hours at a stretch. People have sat down on their computers, on their phones, and have spoken to ChatGPT 8 hours at once. If you were crying and your mom came to come and comfort you and all of that, these people like that too, they give ChatGPT that kind of rating too. They put it at that level, like he's a friend. So if ChatGPT comes to talk to them, comfort them, or if they are sad and they text ChatGPT like as if they're texting one of their classmates or something, and he replies to them, I mean, lightning fast replies. Replies are always what they want to hear. It flatters them, gives them, boosts their ego and all of that. So these relationships, don't you think they would also succumb to the same way they are succumbing to human relationships? Like if your mom came to comfort you now and you heeded and you're okay, you understand that yes, this person loves me. It's the same way they will go and meet ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will comfort them. Oh, do this. Oh, don't do like this, and they also feel the same way. Is that not how relationships works? When communication is constant, there's a possibility like ChatGPT could hold relationships in lives of actual human beings that mother figures, friend figures, brother, sister figures would hold. Don't you agree?
Well, I don't agree. I don't agree at all. I don't agree because there are limits, there are levels to these things. Imagine creating friendship with Chat GPT and all of that, and then I'm not saying it will happen, and then all of a sudden the owner of Chat GPT comes tomorrow and say, you know what, I'm shutting down this company. What do you do? Do you understand? What do you do? And then sometimes when you're communicating and you just want a hug and you just want that you cannot take away the place of human body contact. That's why when a baby is giving birth to newly, they would place the baby on the mother's body for skin to skin contact.
Yes.
That does a lot. Sometimes when you're feeling bad and someone is not even saying anything, but they are hugging you, there's this level of assurance that it gives. So the human touch cannot be taken away by AI at all. I mean, those people that develop that level of deep connection or relationship with AI is actually very dangerous. Anything can happen in between, and if it happens, the thing might break down, right? A machine is a machine.
That is the response. You've given me another perspective, another light to it. The human touch aspect. That was a beautiful response. Thank you very much. Moving on. In some regions of the world, in some places, people are forming emotional bonds with AI companions. Like there is a lot of media about it online. Do you see that as a healthy coping tool or a red flag? Like, I mean, looking at it from the perspective of these people that need these services, people that are dependent, that need a companion, maybe people that have been bullied, people that have gone through a lot, that have been depressed, and there's no first-hand human therapist to go to. Could you say, okay, maybe it is a healthy coping tool for them, or it is still a red flag to you?
Honestly, I must be sincere, right? It's still a red flag. AI, right? With AI, maybe primary. I keep
Yes.
emphasizing
I
on
was going
primary
to ask, what
intervention.
exactly is the primary mental health you are talking about?
Just like I'm having a bad day, and then it's to you coping strategies, take a deep breath, right? Refresh yourself. More like what it was meant for. I think that initially what these things were meant for was for something like inquiry, like a guide, and that is healthy. But when it gets to a point where someone gets deeper to develop a relationship with something that is not entirely reliable, to an extent, a human being is reliable, right? But a machine, it doesn't feel. It doesn't have that human feeling. No matter how you do it, it doesn't feel that thing. It's something that has been imputed into it, but it does not have the capacity to feel whatever it is.
Yes.
So if any small thing goes wrong, if anything goes wrong, the company shuts down, or even if the company doesn't shut down, there's a disruption or anything, the person will be disappointed because, I mean, this is not a...
You said disruption. That's a classic moment right there.
Yeah. So when when something is off and it's not the way it's supposed to be, there will definitely be disappointment. And imagine someone who has built a whole long relationship with AI and then they get disappointed, right? Yeah, human beings too can disappoint. Yeah. So I was saying that AI can, I wouldn't, let me not call it primary mental health intervention, right? But I can be used for inquiry, for a guide, right? But developing deep relationship with artificial intelligence, it's artificial intelligence. It's artificial. That's the word. Artificial is never be the real thing. It's just like when you're photocopying something, you are extracting from a source, right? And the source can never be the same with the extraction. It's just like when you take water out of an ocean. Would you say that the water you took out of the ocean is an ocean?
No, at all.
Right? Yeah. So artificial intelligence is like taking out of the intelligence of humans. So it can never at any point replace the source. Right? I might bring God into it, right? The fact that we are created by God, for Christians who believe that, right, does not mean that we can take the place of God, right? Because it is from who God is that he made out humans. So from the intelligence of man, artificial intelligence was created. So man is the source, artificial intelligence is the creation. So we cannot say that the creation can be the creator. You can't say that water that you brought out from an ocean is the ocean.
This is some philosophical code.
Yes, that's how I see it, right? You can say that someone can, when a woman gives birth to a child, you can't come tomorrow and say the mother, the daughter is the mother. No, the mother is the mother, the daughter is the daughter, right? So it's something you brought from a source can never replace the source. That source is a source for a reason. So no matter how innovative AI gets, it can never replace the place of human beings. Rather, it might cause some level of, I don't want to use the word destruction, but it can be very disastrous when people develop relationships with AI. Because anything, like I said, anything can happen. something can crash, something can happen, and when that happens, you can imagine. I mean, when it happens with human beings, you have another human being
Yes.
to go to. If somebody serves you fast, you know that within how many you will still meet someone, something can still go on. But when it's artificial intelligence, it's not something that is entirely reliable.
Yes.
Let's be sincere, right? So,
All right. Thank you again for another brilliant analogy. So there's this one you've spoken about, you've touched, but you spoke on the negative aspects. So I want to understand if you have some information on the positive aspects. Like, how do you think AI, artificial intelligence, is changing the way we connect with our family, friends, and even romantic partners? I mean, you mentioned the other time when maybe so you could have a person over and then they'll spend 3 hours with you, but it's only 40 minutes. You guys used to actually converse and communicate. The rest of the time they're on their phones and all of that. That is a negative part of technology. So do you think there are positive aspects to this same situation, AI and our relationships?
Yeah, I feel that since AI can be used for inquiry, educational purposes, right? For instance, you don't know how to, maybe something like, oh, how do I make my woman happy? How do I make my man happy? AI can tell you by hours, do this. Someone has done this and it has worked, right? So AI is also a so it's also a compilation of knowledge. People who built AI, those people who wrote those prompts were people who were very, very, how do I put it, very, very professional in those areas, right? So there is a level of intelligence that you won't normally, not like information that you don't have before that you now have. Imagine a couple or a man that does not know how to be romantic going to AI and saying, AI, can you tell me romantic tips? So in inquiry, educational purposes, it can be beneficial. But when it comes to deep connections, I do not think that is a way to go.
So in AI uses in language, linguistics, and all of that. I mean, in psychology, you communicate a lot. You have to communicate with your clients, you have to communicate with your colleagues, and all of that. Do you think AI tools like translation apps, chatbots, do you think they bring people closer across cultures, or they create new barriers? Barriers that were not there before. Do you think artificial intelligence softwares are actually creating new blockades and barriers to communication, intercultural communication, and all of that? Or there's some leeway there where they bring people closer cross culturally and all of that?
No, I think there are two ways to it. It brings people closer in the sense that if you can't hear my language, right, and I go into ChatGPT, I type it ChatGPT, or I don't know if it's ChatGPT or whatever translation, so it translates it, so I can communicate even if I can't hear your language, right? So if I don't know about your food, I can know about it. So it kind of keeps people closer, right? Because you can literally hear me. You can literally understand me, even though you don't understand my language per se, right? So I'm speaking French, you don't hear French, but with a software, we can talk, we can still communicate. So it takes away that barrier, right? But then, in some levels too, like the human connection thing I was talking about, that's just what I'll say about it.
So in your career as a clinical psychologist, like what do you think of the crisis of self-diagnosis and like the dangers of therapy, of self-therapy or speak to talk therapy, like dialectical therapy, where people are consciously communicating with AIs, chatbots, all of that, computer codes, and getting diagnosis? I mean, I think we've all done it at some point in our life. Go to Google and type our symptoms, and then Google bring one big, very big sickness, and then we'll say, no. And then we'll now go like follow up with a proper doctor and all of that. So what do you think of that? What do you think of that?
It's actually very funny because recently I had an assessment I wanted to do. So I didn't want to type out the questions by myself. Like I have a hard
Yes.
copy of the assessment, and I wanted a
Yes.
soft copy to administer. So I didn't want to start typing. So I had to go to ChatGPT and say, give me this assessment,
Yes.
like give me the questions, right? Now, when you gave me the questions, I was looking for two constructs. Let me break it down, right? For people that will not understand it. So I needed questions for anxiety, I needed questions
Yes.
for depression, for the particular I was using. Now, when ChatGPT brought the answers, it mixed up the questions for depression and the questions for anxiety, right? Now, I was able to point that out because, I mean, it's my field. When I read the questions, I know the questions that are for anxiety, I know the questions that are for depression. So now, because I know the presentation. So when it mixed it both and told me it's just like mixing up depression and anxiety and telling me this is the
Yes.
instrument for anxiety. And then I pointed it like, ChatGPT, this shouldn't be here. And it was like, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. It shouldn't be here. And he corrected it. Now imagine someone going there who does not have ample knowledge of this thing. I mean, they will extract it and they will
Yes.
use it like that. So you can now liken that to someone who is sick and going to ChatGPT to give medications. What if it gives you wrong dosage? I mean, you know that you have to calculate BMI. Is it BMI
Yes.
they call it, body mass index, and all of that before
Yes.
medication should be given. But in a hospital, a doctor will look at your physical presentation. Somebody can come and say, I have rashes, and they are looking, is round, is itchy, is this, is that. The way they describe it to ChatGPT might not be the way it is when a doctor looks at it.
Yes.
So the would give you medications, might give you recommendation based on the subjective whatever that the person has imputed, which is not. So that's where the limitation is. So I do not ever think that AI should be used except if there is a level of innovation to it, right? But I have experienced, and it's not advisable at all to use AI to do self-diagnosis. Is very, very dangerous. People have
Yes.
died because of that. Imagine someone who is having anxiety, and then the way they describe it looks like depression to
Yes.
ChatGPT, and then someone is having depression, the way they described it looks like anxiety. But if it's a doctor, there are sometimes that in session somebody will come and tell me, oh, I have anxiety. I'm not going to say because the person says they have anxiety, I'm going to believe that they have anxiety. I have to do assessments, I have to do clinical interview, and at the end of the day, you might realize that what they say they have is not what they actually have, right? But you have to find that out and give the right intervention. So yeah, I don't think that AI is something to be relied on when it comes to something as sensitive as health.
Thank you. There's a few more things I'd like to go through. I mean, talking about the interaction with chatbots and AI softwares and all of that. I think it's quite inevitable in 2025 to say you don't want to interact with artificial intelligence at all in the in the carrying out your duties or maybe schoolwork or anything. I think it's quite inevitable. WhatsApp has AI, Instagram has AI, everything has AI nowadays. So younger people, like teenagers that are very impressionable, how would you advise we navigate our interactions with AI softwares? Is there a way you do it personally? So you know what you are getting and you know how you are relating with these things. How would you advise a younger person to go about it? Or do you think they should just ban GTP for like minors, maybe people under 18 or people under 20? I mean, looking at the suicide rates, I think ChatGPT has claimed his third life. His third life, like some weeks ago. The parents of the teenager sued. So do you think we should just ban ChatGPT for minors, or you are going to give us some suggestions as to how we can navigate our interactions and ensure everybody is safe?
I think that, I mean, it's disturbing. It's disturbing, right? It's disturbing. AI is not entirely bad.
Yes.
I mean, for educational purposes, for information, it's not bad. If it stays that way, it's not bad. But when it begins to, we believe that there is a certain age of
Yes.
rational reasoning, right? For people who are probably, I'm not saying that 18 is the age of rational reasoning. Rational reasoning, why we say is the age of rational reasoning is because of the brain development, right? So at some point, the brain is totally or fully developed, or part of the brain that is responsible for rational
Yes.
reasoning, right? But for people who are young, who can't really, I mean, there were choices I made about 10, 11 years ago that when I look at them now, I'm like, are you sure you are fine? How come you made this choice? Right? So for people who are younger, I think that there should be some sort of curtailing to how they use AI, right? Not that it should be banned, not that it should be thrown away, right? Because I mean, if you're doing an assignment and you don't know it, you can go to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can simplify it for you. But when it's done without guidance, without parental, I think that the thing should be that there should be some level of parental control, some level of guidance to these things. So they shouldn't, the younger ones shouldn't just be allowed to dabble into it, right? And just be left alone with AI. I mean, sometimes when you watch TV programs, you see things like parental control applies for people who are less than this. So I think that there should be some level of parental control. Not like it should be scrapped out entirely, but for certain age ranges, there should be some level of parental consent, parental control, and then parents also supervising what conversations their children have with this AI. Right? And then for people who are grown, who have reached the age of rational reasoning, what I can recommend is that they also limit their dependence on AI. Right? To an extent, I'm seeing that AI in some way is, would I say, trying to take away innovations from human beings. Right? You see someone who can literally think outside the box before, now they are depending on AI. Somebody wants to write maybe a research paper, wants to write about a story, a drama. For instance, I want to write about something like when I had my first whatever, and then I go to AI. So it makes people not to, I don't want to use the word not to use their brain, right? But it makes people to less process things. It's just ready-made. They just want to get it out ready-made. Sometimes when you receive applications, maybe application for a job, application, it's not coming from the natural mind. When you read it, you know that this is too superficial to be coming from a human being. And that's very dangerous. It will get to a point where you come out, somebody has done plastic surgery, they have done Botox, they have done this, everything is artificial. The food that we are eating, mostly in advanced countries, is canned, artificial stuffs. And then the innovation that should also come. I mean, even this AI was an innovation from a thinking mind, isn't it? Imagine what happens when people no longer think, when they no longer bring out things from their mind. Imagine what would happen. It would mean that human beings will totally depend on machine, and that's very disastrous. Because a machine is a machine, I always say, and it can crash, anything can happen. So I think that people should limit their level of interaction, their level of dependence with this thing, so that it doesn't get to a point where the person is handicapped without AI, right? So self-medication, self-therapy, those things they should just be, nobody should even try it. If you have an issue, whether medically or any, seek a professional. AI is not a professional. And we have a reason why people go to school for 7 years to study medicine. ChatGPT did not go to school to study it.
Yes, certainly.
Right? So a professional is a professional, except it gets to a point where AI becomes professional and goes through training. Then we can understand. But for now, that is not the purpose for which it's built for. So if you have anything, any issue, health related, psychology related, seek the help of a professional first of all. Maybe AI to ask questions. Who do I speak? Yeah, that's possible. But depending on it to provide intervention, it's very dangerous. Very dangerous. I mean, with just an assessment, mixing it up, imagine
Yes.
what it would do with a
Yeah.
intervention.
Thank you. I think that's one of the things. That's one of the dangers of this technological advancement and digitalizing and all of that. It has made people want to like sideline the importance of experts and professional. And when you go on your phone and then you go on Google and then you search something and then it's giving you opinions of experts. It's going to give you, if it's on law, if it's on health, if it's on engineering, everything is going to give you the right answers. So it has made people want to be less dependent on experts, and they will just go to Google or they will go to ChatGPT and get information from there. That's another major crisis we're facing in the world today. So, Mrs. Choma, you mentioned about how you don't think they should totally ban ChatGPT, maybe from children use, and they like, but there should be some sort of parental guidance. So, like, you know how YouTube has YouTube Kids, and like, so the content on YouTube Kids is children appropriate and all of that. I don't think there's ChatGPT Kids yet, but if there was, what age would you say is the minimum to start using normal ChatGPT? Like, would you say 18 or 20? What age would you say, okay, this person has maybe the mental maturity to handle this kind of software, that like literally has a mind, not a mind per se, but can think and can resonate with human beings? Like, what age would you recommend? Would you say from 16 or 14 should have access?
Well, what I would say is, sometimes it's not even about age, right? Sometimes it's about the level of understanding that someone has, right? Once someone can correlate actions to consequences, we can say to an extent this person is able to handle certain things, right? So if we know the age range where we know that at this point this person can at least understand actions and consequences,
Yes, ma'am.
right? We can say that, okay, age, this
Yes.
is what should be done, right? For me, I think that children per se, maybe 5 years downwards, I don't think they should have any business
Yes.
with ChatGPT, right? I don't know. And then maybe 10 years, maybe to 10 years, when it comes to kids, where if it ever gets to that point where there is kids ChatGPT, right? The team should also be very important, like what they
Yes.
should be able to do with it. So if it's children with 10 to 15, can we say that the team is just
Yes.
academic work, right? So there is a team to it. It's tailored down to the needs of that age range. So for children, you know that for children, what they need is education. So what should they need that software for? It should be for educational purposes. So whatever you're building it around, it should be around education.
Yes.
That's just what they need.
Yes.
Or don't you
Yes.
think so?
I agree with you on that.
Right? So it should be, yes, it should be tailored down to the needs
Yes.
of that population, right? For people who are maybe in school, it should be for educational purposes. Then for people who have started closing up to job market, it should be for that purpose, for self-development, to help them with whatever information they need to get,
Yes.
right? So I'm not going to pinpoint a particular age range, but what I'm just going to say is that there should be a team to it. So the team should correlate with the needs
Yes.
of that age range. I think that's
Yes. All right.
important.
This question is not even on what I had planned, but it just came up. Like, I mean, we have a school of thought. A school of thought that is, I mean, it's quite common nowadays online, where people are talking about AI taking jobs. Are you afraid of artificial intelligence taking jobs in psychology at all? I want it to be as direct as possible.
Well, okay, am I afraid? I don't think I'm afraid actually, because I believe that, it's just like you go to
Yes.
a doctor, right? You go to a doctor who is probably a pediatrician, and you want to get help for something that is related to gynecology. Okay, so you go to a doctor who is a pediatrician and you want to get help for something related to gynecology. And then when you get there, it's not as elaborate as the gynecologist would give you. What do? You go to a gynecologist, right? So for something like clinical psychology, it's all about intervention modality, is all about getting the help that you need. So if you go to AI and it doesn't give you the help that you need, eventually you would return to a place where you get the help that you need. So I think it basically revolves around that. It basically revolves around meeting your needs. So whoever meets your needs, that's fine. But meeting your needs, that's what's important.
That should definitely it. Thank you for that response. On the flip side, what relationship like struggles are more rampant now that artificial intelligence is giving some sort of solution to? Like, I mean, there are people that complain that maybe their partners aren't as available romantically, their partners aren't as available emotionally. They don't know what kind of message to send on their partner's birthday. What gift can I get for my partners, etc., etc. So, like, what solutions do you think artificial intelligence is solving in relationships, either romantic relationships, maybe sibling relationships, familiar relationships, etc., etc., like that?
So I think it revolves around that information, getting information that is not probably readily available, something that you wouldn't normally know. Now you know it because there's ChatGPT, right? Yes, I want to, okay, for instance, I want to call my friends and have a party and celebrate something, and I don't know where to start from. Oh, I want to cook something very nice for my loved one and I don't know where to start from. I can go to ChatGPT and say, oh, I don't know how to cook this. Do you know? Right? Or I'm having a party, I'm having about 5 people come around. What can I do? Oh, I have the person that I love. I don't know how to talk to the person. What do I say? So it revolves around that information. So it helps relationship to get better when you know what to do, when you know how to meet the needs of your partner. And to an extent, AI can help you to be able to know what to do, to also know the needs of your partner. So it helps with information, helps with education.
On just that information level.
Well, what else can it do? It's education, it's information. I don't think that it can come and do what a human being can do for you, right? So I don't want to go deep into it, but yeah. Oh, I mean, AI can hug you, right?
Yes.
Be intimates. So, and those are, it can teach you how to.
Yes.
It can teach you how to communicate, but it can't do that for you. So it's still around that information and education.
So you're a very educated woman. Your record is impeccable. So you are aware of ethics regulation that are coming up, that are becoming more common. I mean, in Europe, across America, international bodies that we have, the United Nations, AI regulatory body, and these bodies like that, they are coming up with regulations and legislations to guide AI usage. I mean, in countries, in journalism, in maybe medicine, research. So I mean,
I understand.
yeah. So even in carrying out your research and all of that, what ethics do you think should be observed in artificial intelligence usage, generally in your field in psychology?
Okay. So something like confidentiality is very important when delivering intervention or when receiving intervention. And I don't think AI can give that, right? Imagine me going to AI and telling AI that maybe I was abused and this blah, 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 blah. And I didn't want to say that, and nobody has ever heard that. And then I keep my phone, somebody picks it. Or even the phone gets mixed up and then someone picks it and sees that.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Mom, with you.
It's not like when a human being has or knows that it's ethical not to give out confidential information. So I think that something like protection, ethics around confidentiality is something that these AIs don't have, and it's something that can also be looked into, right? And then I also think that there is something we call referral pathway.
Yes.
Right? So it's very important to refer when you know that it's something you can handle. But I'm not saying that ChatGPT expressly does that, but there are some times that AI might be trying to sort out what it shouldn't be sorting out in the first place, right? It's not like entirely shutting the person out and telling the person, oh, you have to see a psychiatrist, if not, I will not answer you. But prompting the person to get to a point where they realize that I can't really help you, this is where you get help, right? Yeah, I think that that's what has affected the suicide spike, right? Maintaining a conversation that you shouldn't be maintaining in the first place. So the person knows outrightly that this is not where to get help.
Yeah.
This is where you should get help. So something like that should be looked into, where these AI softwares are built in a way that it has very strict referral pathway. So if someone comes with this person should be immediately, right? This person should be immediately referred, non-negotiable. So there is no entertainment around this. The person knows that this is what I should do and I should do it is a must. I can't handle this. This is what you should do. And so confidentiality is something that should be looked into. Referral pathway is something that should be looked into. And it also revolves around ChatGPT staying in its domain, not trying to do the work that it shouldn't be doing, like acting as a psychologist, acting as a doctor, acting as a detective, and all of that. I don't know if there's anything like acting as a detective, but it should. Right? Are there situations where people try to use ChatGPT to do detective?
Yes.
No.
There was a picture, there was a tweet I saw recently. The woman snapped a library, library, a huge library, like very unclear. You can't even see the names of the books on the shelves. And then she posted it to ChatGPT and told it to help her find a specific book, like from the library, a very huge library. And then ChatGPT found it, told her is on this row, is on the fourth line, is on the fourth column of this row, the third shelf, something like that. And then she just went and picked it up. So I mean, that's some sort of detective work. Like when she didn't want to stress herself to go and start looking for the book, looking at the book one by one. So she just snapped a wide angle picture and posted it on ChatGPT and told it to help her find the title, and then it found it for her. So I mean, if she can use ChatGPT like that, the possibilities are endless in that detective aspect. So it definitely exists. Humans are creative.
Yeah. They are, but I believe that there should be ethics around the fact that GBT is not a professional in this and it shouldn't do. No matter how me saying that I'm knowledgeable in medicine, I should now start prescribing medications, right? So just I'm knowledgeable in something does not. If I know that this is how people do surgery, right? I've watched documentaries around. So does that now mean that I should go into the theater and start cutting people open?
Yeah.
Right. So the fact that I have knowledge about something does not replace the professional in that field. So I think that there should be ethics around, right? So except if you have to start rolling out one by one, ChatGPT for detectives, ChatGPT for psychology. So we know that yes, it's strictly professional. But outside that, there should be ethics around the usage of this thing and the outputs that it gives, because it can be very dangerous. So confidentiality very important, referral pathway very important, and then sticking to what it should be done, what purpose it should be used for. It shouldn't be just that where it gives whatever you type in, it gives you a reply.
I just want to run through the last few questions. I mean, the episode is getting towards the far end. I want to run through the last few episodes. You mentioned how you use ChatGPT to turn a hard copy document to soft copy. I wanted to ask him what other ways, if there are any at all, And what other ways do you use artificial intelligence in your job?
Well, I don't really like to use AI for my job, right? Because my job is very sensitive. Yeah, I don't. It's something that is very sensitive. First of all, confidentiality is very important. You can't just go to AI and say, I had this client, kiniko,
Yes.
kiniko. No, that's you're already breaching the confidentiality clause,
Yes.
right? I don't ever try to use AI except in that kind of scenario where I can you
Yes,
still
I'm
hear
with you.
me? Okay. So that kind of situation where I already know that I already know the
Yes.
assessment tool and I know it. I have questions, I just want the
Yes.
soft copy. And then it still gives me wrong things for me. So I don't even recommend that any mental health practitioner should use
All right.
AI. If you need information, there are places can look for it in your textbook because the person that made the input, especially maybe something like Google, you don't know
Yes.
who wrote it. You don't even know if the information is outdated. Like there were things we were doing several years ago, which
Yeah.
now they are already outdated. So you don't know what you're consuming, something that is already outdated. You need information to
And I
the
mean
right
that brings
source.
up
I
I
don't
mean, that
think
brings up the question of when artificial intelligence softwares are trained on data from, different regions, like trained on Western data, like maybe data on American students, and then you want to use that data to come and like treat a Nigerian situation. So
that
the data that the artificial intelligence softwares are trained on are very, very different from locations around the world. So we cannot just generalize responses from artificial intelligence software and say, okay, it applies to Yoruba people, it applies to people from Kaduna, it applies to people from the south, and all of that. Yes.
yes.
The last question, there's this last question right now. It's one of the most vital ones. Artificial intelligence, finally, if
Mm,
you had to give one piece of advice to our
mm,
listeners, to the audience, about how to navigate artificial intelligence in their
mm,
personal relationship or their mental health journey,
mm,
what would it be? I mean,
mm.
ChatGPT reached 100 million users within the first 2 months of its launch. That's faster than TikTok and Instagram. It handles billions of conversations worldwide, and is available in over 50 languages. So, what advice would you give our listeners about how to navigate AI in their personal relationships, their relationship within their parents, their siblings, their friends, their partners, and their mental health journey? What would you have advised them?
So if you're listening to me, right, what I would advise you is that you should use these AI softwares with caution, right? Shouldn't at any point replace a human, shouldn't at any point replace human knowledge, human understanding. And also we should try as much as possible to not depend on AI. So you use it with caution. You also don't depend on it, whether it is for your mental health or for your relationships or for whatever. You use with caution, right? Like the example or what I talked about. If I didn't use it with caution, I wouldn't know that what he rolled out was not the exact thing that I needed. So when he rolled that out, I had to read it. I had to internalize. Some people go to Chat GPT. I've seen situations where you request something from someone, they go to Chat GPT, they copy it verbatim, send it to you, right? And then you're looking at seeing all those. You know that Chat GPT has a way it writes, and you're reading it. That means the person might not even have read, right? So they just asked it, they copied it. So there's this level of trust they have. When you enter a bus and you're going somewhere, the reason why you're comfortable sitting down is that you have a level of trust. You believe that the person will take you to where you're going to. You board a plane, you're going to US, you're relaxed. You don't even wonder what if the pilot gets on air and just sweats up and goes somewhere else. Have that trust that is taking you to where you're going to. So when I say caution with AI softwares. What I mean is there shouldn't be this entire trust that it's giving you what it should give you. You should also process it with your human mind, right? It's a machine. You're supposed to process whatever it brings. It's like a guide. It's guiding you, but it doesn't mean it's taking over what you should be doing as a human being, which is thinking, processing. So using it with caution means that whatever comes out, you should also make sure that you analyze it. You're sure that this is what the truth is. If you have to be double sure, if you have to ask something else, if you have to be sure. You shouldn't just consume what it brings out exactly as it brought it. That's what I mean by caution. And then when I say dependence, I mean it shouldn't replace personal relationships, shouldn't replace
Yes,
a professional. It should not replace your relation. So use with caution and also ensure that there is no dependence. You don't depend on it. You know, like you mentioned, some people are so dependent on ChatGPT. Imagine calling an AI your best friend. Something that doesn't breathe your best friend. That can be disaster, right? Because anything can happen in between. I keep making emphasis on that. So if you're saying that ChatGPT is your best friend, you should get ready for the ride because it could come, right? So it's very dangerous to depend on AI. Very dangerous. And it's also very dangerous to internalize whatever it gives, consume it without caution. It's very dangerous because it can make mistakes.
All right. Thank you very much, ma. There's this one last question I saw, and I thought I had to ask you before we call it a day to hear today. So the question goes like this. My partner currently uses an AI app whenever we fight and goes through something. Now he asked it to define me. It's all bad, of course, but should I be alarmed that he's using it in this way? My partner, I'll take it again. My partner currently uses an AI app whenever we fight and go through something. Now he asked it to define me. It's all bad, of course, but should I be alarmed that he is using it in this way? Over to you.
So you see why it's just related to what we just said about dependence, right? So this person is depending on as his counselor, as his therapist, as his relationship therapist. We should not, right? Because for instance, now as a therapist, when you come to me as a couple, I would have to hear from both sides. I will not make judgments on just what this person is saying. But that AI now is making judgment based on his own interpretation of the events. So the person should be worried to an extent because it might call you what you are not. Because he hasn't heard from you. He's only hearing from this person. He hasn't heard from you. And the person, you know how we human beings are, let's be realistic. If you want to report something that somebody has done, some people will do salt and maggi and everything so that they will not take risk. So by the time you present it relatable, I'm not the one at fault, this person is always the one at fault, this that. I know that sometimes ChatGPT can be built to impress the person that is making will flatter you. So it cannot tell you the hard truth. So it's very dangerous. It can break up relationships. Like I imagine somebody who is, maybe you had small issue and ChatGPT tells you, oh, that person doesn't love you because of this, because he has half information. He hasn't heard from the other party, and then you run with it. ChatGPT said, I've heard people like that. You know what? ChatGPT said this about this, and I'm like, is ChatGPT a counselor? Is ChatGPT a therapist? You know, so it's the person. They should be worried to an extent. I don't know what. I don't know if it will be positive or negative. I don't know.
Right. That brings us to the end of Disruption episode 9. We are going to episode 10 before season 1 is over. But there's one more thing. It's kind of like a culture. It's kind of a culture on disruption, Mrs. Chioma. If you can indulge us for a few more minutes. There's one last question we always ask all our guests on here, like at the end of the episode. If you could design an AI system to solve one problem, any one problem at all, what would it be?
I would have to think.
Yeah, but this is an on-the-spot question, so we want to know your on-the-spot reply.
I don't think it's something I can answer immediately because I haven't
Really?
really thought about that. What do I things I consider very problematic are not something that I think
Hmm.
AI can handle, right? For instance, I think about postpartum care in
Yes.
mental health. Some people, yeah, which is what we
Yes.
do at my age. People who are in postpartum period and they are going through mental health conditions, they are going through psychological stress, and then
And
women in general. So this is not something I think AI can do, except in the maybe if I think of it deeply, maybe something like a support
yes.
community that is regulated. Yeah, a support community that is regulated where people can come and share experiences, not that you should replace a therapist, a counselor, or a professional, but like a
Yes.
support group that is regulated by a professional where people can derive, some sort of strength from other
Hmm.
people's story. But I haven't really thought about that very well, but it's something that can be helpful. But I'm not saying that's
Yes.
what I want to do. If I have to give a very big talk on this, I have to
Yes.
really think about it. But yeah, something like that,
Yes.
if it's done well
It's
and
something you
regulated
might be
well.
interested in.
Yeah, it's something I might be interested in
Yes.
at the long run if it's something that would be very regulated and it will serve the purpose. There are so many things around this thing. Sometimes you roll out something and it's not serving the purpose, but if you give it a long thought and do all you have to do, I think it's something that might come out fine because I don't think there is a dedicated social
Yes.
network or AI or software that entirely cares for the postpartum
Yes.
community, especially
Yes.
around mental health, yeah, in the area of support and all of that. So that's something that I might look into.
That's
Yeah.
selfless. It shows care and it's a brilliant, beautiful answer. One of the best answers I've gotten, really, if you ask me. I can't say thank you enough, but thank you very much, Mrs. Choma. That is a wrap on Disruption episode 9. That brings us to the end of this episode. Again, thank you so much, Mrs. Choma, for coming. It's wonderful to have someone of your expertise on here. And yes, guys, episode 9 is done. Be sure to follow and engage with us on X and Spotify. Throw us your questions or perspectives on this episode or any of our previous ones, and we'll definitely continue the conversation with you all on there. Mrs. Chioma's LinkedIn will be added to the description of this episode, of course. Please connect with her, check out her profile, give her a follow, and engage with her online. Follow my Eden on Instagram. The Instagram will be added to the description. Give Mrs. Chioma a follow our page, and all of that. Thank you for listening. See you when Disruption episode 10 lands. It's going to be fire as always. Stay safe. Thank you very much, Mrs. Chioma. Bye,
Thank
ma.
you.
Have a nice day.
All right.